Today, we're going to go over the patch notes and the balance changes for the upcoming April 2024 update in World of Warships Legends. There's actually a lot to this update, so I'm just going to try to go as fast as I can and go over the major highlights. To begin with, we'll get right into the campaign, featuring a reward ship that I don't think anybody expected, the Swedish battleship Karl Johan, which will fly under the Pan-European flag. I actually have this ship on World of Warships PC. Got it out of a Santa crate during Christmas. This is basically a torpedo-focused battleship. It's got 12 305mm guns, and at least on World of Warships PC, it basically has Holland torpedoes. I think there's 8 on either side of the ship. They had a 13.5-kilometer range, and they traveled at 90 knots. And on top of that, I was able to buff the battleship's concealment on World of Warships PC to get it to be something ridiculous like 10.6 km. I don't know that the Karl Johan in our game is going to feature all the same stats, but the patch notes do confirm that she's armed with 12 305mm guns with a fast reload and a pair of quadruple torpedo tube launchers on either side. I was under the impression that it had 2 quadruple launchers on either side on the PC version, but perhaps that has changed for Legends. I'll be curious to see what the ship is like when it debuts on Monday. Of course, there's a breakdown of the campaign. I think it's a 5-week campaign with 100 milestones, so nothing out of the ordinary here. And then we have, of course, the annual April Fool's event. This time it's called Planet Clash. Prepare for battle against the All-Destroyer in this new April Fool's Day operation. It's curious that they use the word operation in the patch notes as well. I wonder if that means we'll be getting more operations at some point in the future. In any case, there's not much here to say about this April Fool's thing, but it looks, rather spacey and sci-fi, so that's all right. Next, we've got a new tech tree line coming to early access. This is the light cruiser line for the IJN, featuring light cruisers of Tier 4 and upward. Of course, during the update, only the first couple of tiers will be available. We will get the Agano, Gokase, Omono, and Shimanto. By the way, Flamu, if you watch World of PC content, just had a video with the Shimanto, and apparently it has pretty crazy AA. These cruisers, though, they have heavy torpedo armaments that can apparently be launched at aggressive angles. They have a lot of small main battery guns, but not many more details are available in the patch notes. I know their reputation on PC is not great. While they do have numerous guns, the reload times are extremely long and the shells are extremely floaty. So hopefully this line will get the same treatment as the Italian battleship line when it comes to Legends. I think Legends improved the Italian battleship line quite significantly compared to what you can get on PC. Also worth noting, though, Yamato's final mission, for the anniversary of that, I think that means the real-life Yamato, a short series of missions will feature the Yamato from April 4th through April 11th. Completing them will earn you some rewards, including a few Japanese cruiser crates. And of course, with these being early access, the way to get them is, a little bit unfortunately, by buying those crates. In any case, there's another calendar event. To complement the new set of light cruisers, a new historical commander is available for the Japanese tech tree, and you can get him, apparently, by completing this calendar event. The base trait of this commander increases torpedo speed by 1.5 knots, or up to 1.5 knots, I should say, and also increases ship movement speed by 2%. The unique skill from the commander reduces torpedo detectability, increases torpedo range, increases cruiser torpedo damage depending on the distance traveled. That's interesting. Bit of a different sort of mechanical gimmick than what we're usually seeing on the commanders. Hopefully, this guy will be good for this line. It does sound like he has a lot of torpedo focused skills, though. And I don't know how much of a torpedo focused line this will actually be, but we'll see. And then, can you believe it? Legends turns 5 years old this update. And of course, Wargaming is preparing a series of gifts, including the exclusive Tier 5 premium ship for 5-year players, Commonwealth Cruiser Mysore. When you log in during the update, you can pick up a free bundle in the store to get your rewards and a small mission for even more rewards. I think they're going to say a little bit more on this subject in a detailed blog post. Then we're going to get seasons 52 and seasons 53 of Rank during the final 2 weeks of the update, featuring Tier 5 and Tier 6 ships. It looks like it's going to be 5v5 battles with a limit of 1 DD per team and no CVs, so more ranked coming. Next up, the Forge. So another steel ship in this case. The Forge gains a new ship in this update, Japanese Tier 8 battleship Dyson, which is the battleship or the ship that Wargaming teased a few days or a week ago. I think everybody thought it was going to be the campaign ship. Thankfully, it's not, because that would make it, the fourth Tier 8 premium Japanese battleship that has been a campaign reward, following the Musashi, the Iwami, and the Heisen. This, though, is going to be a steel battleship. You'll be able to get it for 25,000 steel. It has apparently eight accurate high-velocity guns, torpedoes, and uniquely improved consumables. The engine boosts provide a short duration of speed that can send the battleship up to above 40 knots, and her enhanced secondary targeting is, quote, the best in the game. It's interesting. So it's going to be a torpedo and secondary focused IJN battleship. Well, anybody complaining that there aren't enough uses for steel, I guess we're going to get another one. Mobile. The mobile version of the game is going to be fully released on March 27th for iOS and Android. And it's going to arrive with full commander support, full calendar support, store coupons, improvements to touch controls, improved recognition of when the finger leaves the outside of the button area, and performance improvements for lower-end devices. I haven't really played anything on mobile, but it's getting a wide release. Maybe it'll bring a number of newer players into the game, which is not a bad thing. Then we've got improvements to fleets. The fleet call sign will now be visible next to your name in the leaderboard, in battle logs, in player lists, and post-battle results screen. And I guess that's quite nice, but that's not all. They're making it easier to find fleets and recruit potential players in-game by adding a looking for fleet feature, similar to looking for division. That ought to be nice for those of you who are looking to join fleets. Couple miscellaneous bug changes, but not too much else of note here. So definitely a lot of IJN focused content coming our way, aside from the campaign ship being Swedish. But next we ought to look at the balance changes, because there are a lot of those, and there are a couple things that I don't think will surprise anybody. Let's get to it. First up, there's a huge series of buffs. Well, maybe not huge, but HMS Resistance at Tier 6 is getting a buff to its AP shell damage, and it's getting a buff to its HP. Also, the way the HP is distributed around the hull is changed. Pretty much all the HP everywhere is buffed. Next, we've got Hawk, which I thought, to be honest with you, Hawk was a pretty good battleship, but according to the Ministry of Balance, she currently feels uncomfortable to play and underperforms. So what they're doing is buffing the reload. The upgraded reload will be reduced to 28 seconds. Not a bad thing, but I have not found the ship to be uncomfortable or underperforming. I think it's quite good. This will make it certainly better. San Luis, though, a ship that I think is not so great, is also getting a buff. It is getting a buff to the main battery reload time. The base time is reduced from 8.5 to 7.5 seconds, which makes sense because I believe the Charles Martel, which precedes it on the tech tree, has a base reload time of 8.5. So you would think the San Luis should be an upgrade, and well, now it is. Also, the HP is being buffed, and there's stuff done to the distribution of the HP to make the ship a little bit more survivable, which I don't think is a bad thing. San Luis, I don't think is worth playing in its current state. Maybe this will make it worth playing. Next up, in a surprise to nobody, Wargaming is having to correct a little bit of fine tuning that they did to two cruisers that absolutely didn't need it. Alaska and, of course, Stalingrad. Alaska has sometimes proved to be extremely durable after her recent buff. Oh, has she? Wargaming, indeed. Well, we can't have that, and of course we can't have the buffed reload time either. Reload time is being nerfed. It's going up to 20 seconds, and basically what they're doing is, I think it's sort of complicated. It says, while the HP of the modules is increasing, this means the ship takes more damage from parts of the ship to saturate and is functionally a reduction of the ship's survivability. Basically, what they're doing is making it less difficult to damage by removing the effects of saturation. So I don't know how that's going to work out in practice, but I think the ship definitely needed a nerf. Or, well, it didn't need a buff in the first place. Neither did Stalingrad. Similarly, the Stalingrad is getting a nerf to her survivability. And what they're doing, again, is making the nerf via the saturation system rather than the armor plating. And yeah, so they're doing some more stuff with the HP, which should make the Stalingrad a little bit easier to damage. That it certainly needs, because it is a ridiculous tank. Next up, we got the new French cruisers, Cherbourg and Brest. Both of them are getting buffs to their reload. Cherbourg goes down to 28 seconds, Brest to 26. Not a bad thing at all. I think the reload on these cruisers is excessively long, so it's nice to see it getting buffed ever so slightly. And then something I thought I would never see, the worst destroyer in the game, Lione, the tier 5 Italian destroyer with 8 guns. That's getting a buff because, well, the Ministry of Balance does acknowledge the ship lacks greatly in rate of fire compared to her peers as compensation for the number of those 8 guns, and that detracts from the ship's unique traits. Couldn't agree more, and that is why I am happy to see that they are buffing the main battery reload by 1.5 seconds. If you build into that, it might start approaching a much more reasonable destroyer reload, and I'll be happy to take the Lione out again and give it a test, because I thought the ship was terrible when it was first released, and hopefully this makes it a little bit more playable. But Lione is not the only Italian destroyer getting a buff to its main battery reload. Also, Tarigo, Cuniberti, and Adriatico are all getting buffs to their main battery reload time, which is also nice to see. The main line of Italian destroyers doesn't seem to be very popular, and perhaps not very effective, although I think the SAP main battery is a menace to other destroyers, and making it reload faster might make this line have a little bit more of a unique identity in that it can counter other destroyers with its hard-hitting, fast-reloading SAP guns. We'll see, I suppose. Then they're doing some changes to the economy, specifically at Tier 8. They are increasing the credit earnings of a number of battleships at Tier 8, Maine, Izumu, Temeraire, Frederick de Grossa, and also the random cruiser Dmitry Donskoy is getting a little bit of a buff to its credit earning rating. And by the same token, the credit earning for Brest, Petro, Brindisi, and Sejong have all been reduced. Frankly, if you are trying to earn credits in this game, I wouldn't be playing at Tier 8 at all. for any reason, you're never going to earn any credits at that tier, despite what they may or may not do to the economy in this patch. You want to play at tier 7 or tier 6, preferably in a premium ship if you can. That is the way to get credits in the game. Then there's some map changes, which frankly, I am thrilled to see. They're doing some changes to the spawns on Trap, which I always thought were kind of screwy. They're removing the angling from the spawns, which is good. I hate the way that you spawn on some of these maps and it points your ship in a certain direction and makes it, well, basically makes it harder for you to choose to go in a different direction. There are certain maps like that. Trap is one. They are redoing the spawns and they are repositioning them to avoid line of sight as well, which is good. But the best thing here is this Haven on high tiers. The Haven spawns have been screwed up for a long time, and I am thrilled to see that they are, quote, removing the west side bias to the spawns at higher tier on Haven. Spawns are more evenly spread across the map, which is like music to my ears. The spawns on that map are awful. Shatter also, I think, has terrible spawns currently, and they're going to change those as well. They're going to spread the spawn groups out across the map, and the map border added to reduce empty map area. That is interesting. I hope that doesn't mean they're shrinking the map, but it's good that they're going to spread the spawn groups out further across, because I think they're far too close to that chain of islands in the center, and then people drive right into the center islands and they sink, and it's not ideal. So estuary also getting a change to the map. The capture zone time, or the capture zone size, is increased, and 2 new scenarios are being added using the left and right halves of the map. I take that to mean new cap configurations. Interesting. They're also changing spawn positions for riposte, straight, and oh, good, they are removing epicenter game mode from the Tears of the Desert map. That is great, because Tears of the Desert Epicenter is not my favorite game mode to begin with. Tears of the Desert, it is pretty terrible on that particular map. So a lot of interesting balancing changes for sure. A lot of new content coming, certainly more content than in the update. And I'm looking forward to testing it out. I will, of course, be streaming the update at some point when it drops on Monday, so I'll see you all for that, and for my stream tomorrow on Friday. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.